Today, I'm going to be sharing a little bit about my experiences as a photographer, especially as a photographer shooting for non-governmental organizations, NGOs, corporate bodies, shooting photography for health development projects and a variety of projects. The NGO business is really a fantastic place because it's a business of change, making change. I have spent quite a number of years working in NGOs as far back as 2008, 2007, 8 is when I started working with NGOs as a medical doctor back then in Kaduna, volunteering in the HIV/AIDS clinic. And if you had told me that 3 to 4 years later I will be doing photography, and eventually go on to build a career in photography and visual documentation, visual communication for NGOs, I would have laughed at you because it never ever crossed my mind. My journey in photography was kind of accidental. Like, I never knew people used to make money from taking pictures the way that I make money from taking pictures now. I know that back in the day, especially when digital photography was not so popular, I don't know how many of us were born back then, but then cameras used film, right? And those films were developed in the dark room. So we had these places where they would say, I want to go and wash my picture, because in the dark room they use special chemicals, liquids to process the negatives. And so I know that back then when we used to have parties at home, my mom would invite a photographer who would come and take pictures and then go back and print the pictures and come back with them, and then she would select the ones she likes and pay for them. And then sometimes when you go for weddings, you see all these paparazzi guys, we call them paparazzis, who take pictures of you. I never knew about the world of creative photography, professional photography. Never thought that people could make money with it. So my journey in photography started that way, and it was really a time of adventure and exploration. I remember sleepless nights, staying up all night practicing, trying to understand all the various elements and aspects of the camera, and understanding light and how to capture light and how to create those special looks. And I delved into photo editing. I found out editing could be a shortcut to making amazing pictures, but nothing beats getting it right in camera. But that's a story for another day, right? So the story about today is how to get started shooting photographs for NGOs, how to get started as a documentary photographer. I'll share with you two main ways, right? And then I'll talk a little bit about other related things. So first is something that I did, and that's why I'm confident enough to share it for you, because it was the way I got into shooting photographs for NGOs. If you are like me, you read a lot, do a lot of research, and so I discovered that you could actually use photography to create change, right? To affect people's lives, to tell stories, to bring people's attention to the plight of certain people or to certain issues, societal and developmental issues. So I began to toy around those things. I kept thinking, okay, I started a blog, so I kept thinking, what kind of content would I like to produce for the blog? I thought about doing projects, right? So I thought about the fact that, okay, wouldn't it be nice if I came up with an idea, something to use photography for, right? Not just waiting for people to call you for weddings or portraiture, but what could I do with my camera? What kind of images could I create that would be exciting and that would probably bring some benefit to other people? So I kept on thinking randomly around those things, and then I came up with this idea of starting a photography project for orphans. A lot of those of us who grew up with our parents, we can point back to pictures of our childhood where we probably went for a particular event with our parents, or where the whole family was taken out to a studio to take pictures. So sometimes you can look back at pictures, old school pictures, and see yourself and your family, and you can tell a little story about your growth and how you kept on developing. But orphans don't have that privilege, right? Because there's really nobody there for them except maybe the caretakers at the orphanage. So I thought that wouldn't it be nice if we went to an orphanage, took beautiful pictures of these kids when they're really young, or at whatever stage they are, and then print those pictures and keep those pictures so that when they grow up to become adults, they would have at least a nice little souvenir of their childhood, right? Something to remember the past with, and not just any kind of picture, because a lot of times most pictures of orphans are pictures that elicit sadness, like you see them looking abandoned and so on. So we thought, no, why don't we go with a makeup artist, get some makeup done, get them cleaned up and all of that. That was the idea. So the Cognito Orphanage Project was born then. That's what I called it. And we went there, I got together with a few friends, modeling agencies, Sahara models then, and a makeup artist, and we got food and books and so on. After several visits, we agreed on a date. We went there, took pictures of these kids, had a good time, sharing food, playing games, teaching them a little bit about photography, and then we processed the pictures, edited them, and then I blogged about it, right? So I put up an article on my blog, cognitostudios.blogspot.com, I just put it out there, right? Because I wanted to inspire people. I wanted people to see that you could use photography to change things. And then I was also hoping that it would eventually lead up to maybe a community of people who want to do things for orphans, right? And the plan was also to go from orphanage to orphanage to orphanage and go about doing it. It was a major thing for me then. But I got busy with work, and so the only thing I could do with those pictures was to put them on my blog, put it out there. I did some Google search engine optimization for my blog just to increase visibility, and then I was always sharing my links out on Facebook and so on. I never knew that one day this was going to take me into the next phase of my photography journey, because up until then all I was shooting was weddings and maybe like still life, nature, landscape and so on and so forth. I just started doing commercial photography for portraits and so on and so forth. So one day, just out of the blues, I got a call from an international number, and it was a call directly from the Geneva office of the United Nations. And to my surprise, they had seen my blog post. Apparently they were looking for a photographer in Nigeria who could help them take certain pictures, and they found my blog post and they were excited about the work I did. Believe me when I tell you that this was unsolicited. I didn't go out to hustle for an NGO job. I didn't go out to hustle for anybody's attention. I just did something with my work and I put it out there. Take note of my words. I did something with my work, with my camera. I created content and I put it out there. That was the journey to my first deal with an NGO, an international one for that matter. And they gave me an assignment to document 10 things you can't live without for 2 particular people. These are people who were living with HIV/AIDS then. It was supposed to be like a peek into their life, and so I was supposed to take pictures of 10 things they could not do without, right? So maybe a Bible, a picture of their kids and so on. So I went all the way out to somewhere in Karo, Maraba, Yanya, found these people, went to their homes, took pictures of them in their homes, outside their homes, went to their place of work, their place of business, took pictures of those items that they had identified as things that they cannot live without. It was all part of an international magazine, an article, maybe to just bring more attention to the lives of people living with HIV and AIDS. So that's how I got into the NGO photography business. So the lesson for me there was, and this is something I tell a lot of people out there too, sometimes things find you when you are busy doing your best, anywhere you are, right? Sitting down and waiting for an opportunity or for someone to hook you up with an NGO sometimes doesn't cut it. You have to be creating content. If you want to work with NGOs, create content that NGOs will like. Think about a project in your community. Think about maybe an uncompleted school building, or the sanitation of the environment, or flowers, or anything at all in your environment that you think you can tell a story about. Or get together with friends and do a project. Do a cleanup project, maybe clean up a particular area of town. Then together with your friends, document these things, write a nice story about them, put them out there on social media, put them on your blog, put them on Instagram. When people get to your social media feed, your LinkedIn page, let them see content that will remind them of you whenever they think about a photographer to do a job for them. So that's the first tip I'll give you to get started in shooting photos and videos for NGOs. Let me know what you think about that. Now, the second tip is something I always tell people, not just in the area of photography, but people who just want to get started with NGOs, which is to volunteer. Find an opportunity to volunteer. There are many, many opportunities to volunteer. In fact, NGOs love volunteers because you're helping them to get work done without them paying you so much in terms of a big fat salary, right? But on the flip side, you are getting a lot of experience that you will probably not get anywhere else, all right? Nobody will hire an inexperienced person unless you come in as a volunteer. And so when you come in as a volunteer, you begin to get experience. So as a photographer, you could approach an NGO, send your CV to them and say, I would like to volunteer my services to take pictures of your projects free of charge. If there's a particular site where a particular project or activity is going on, you could go there, you could volunteer to take pictures of those things, the project, the activities that are going on. Of course, you have to sign all the necessary consent forms and follow the guidelines and the rules of the NGO, and also understand that when you're shooting public things, public people, you have to understand the laws of the land in terms of shooting people and putting out there. But essentially, when you shoot for them, you should take opportunity to create images for your own portfolio, which is something I always did. Anytime I was out shooting for an NGO, I would always take time to shoot stuff for my own portfolio. If I was going out to shoot a project on nutrition, for example, for nutrition for children under 5 in a particular village, I would also take pictures of the houses, the communities. We'll talk about volunteering. See, I've always been in the